Hello. Good evening. Welcome to Afterthoughts. We had a little bit of a technical hiccup, so if you might have been on the old one. Hopefully you made it to this new event, live stream. If you know of someone that might be still hanging out, message them or share this video. That would be very helpful. But it is good to see you guys here tonight. I'm here with someone new. My name's Andrew, if we haven't met, and I am here with Richard.
Yes, it's wonderful to be here. Thank you all so much for having this opportunity. It's been a member here for about 2 years, and it's been a great journey just getting to know everyone and get to know you. So I'm happy to be here. Yeah,
this is like kind of one of the first times that we've seen each other in person. We've become friends sort of online in the COVID thing.
But, it's been a little bit different. It's doing some face-to-face online, but through the phone. But actually being here and seeing some of the new changes in the church has been amazing.
Yeah, it's awesome. I'm just gonna say a really quick hi to some people online. Patrice, hey Dad, hey Heather, hey Austin, BJ, hey, how's it going? It's good to see you guys here tonight. So if you are just tuning in, this is Afterthoughts. I'm Andrew, and I'm here with Richard, and we're going to talk about our afterthoughts on what we've thought about since after, the thoughts that have come after Sunday.
Oh, that's so official when you say it like that.
Right?
Yeah, you got a good tagline when you start that.
I think we need a little jingle.
Yes.
And a little like da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Or like, Jimmy Fallon's got the Roots Band.
Oh, yeah.
If we could have some sort of like...
a band, someone that...
We have someone in the band.
We have you?
Yeah. We need a band that we can cut to the... Da-da-da-da-da.
Yeah. Oh, I think that'd be great. We need some, the comic relief over to the side. That would definitely help some nerves and anxiety, at least for some people here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Speaking of anxiety, what a good segue. We're a great team.
It was not planned at all.
So we've been talking on a series called Jesus, Can I Thrive in My Anxious World? Can you help me thrive in my anxious world? And so we'll get into more about what the series is about, but this last Sunday, Delton asked the question of how are we handling the anxieties in us and around us in our world right now? And I thought that was a good question. He's kind of starting every Sunday morning by asking that question. And I think it's a good question of stopping and checking, how am I doing? And because I don't know how much I do that normally on a day-to-day basis. I'm usually going and going and going, and I don't really stop. Think about, okay, wait, how am I feeling? What do I feel? So let's just put that question out there. How are you handling the loads of life, anxiety, anxious world right now? I know when I think about myself, we had a scale a couple weeks ago in the sermon of 0 being maybe no emotional content, no anxiety, anxiousness, to maybe about a 10, which is super high, everything all at once. And then every number in between there. And I'm probably right around, actually a couple weeks ago was a little bit higher, but right now I'm probably around maybe 4 or 5. Dipping into the 6s and 7s every once in a while, but jumping back.
Is that kind of getting ready for next week, that 6 or 7?
Yeah.
Having your own little wings here to fly and see how,
I get to preach on Sunday, so there's a slight bit of anxiety there, but it's... what's ironic is that I get to preach about anxiousness, an anxious world, while also feeling a little bit anxious.
I can see that.
So that's a little bit of maybe Jesus is trying to talk to me too.
Trying to help you kind of just calm through it, that he helps you through it. I know it's been stressful on me. I mean, last when we were talking, a lot of different things have been happening, because when COVID, everything hit, my position was eliminated, trying to figure out how to kind of go through this new norm. Looking at, wife being in healthcare, looking at the challenges of how does that affect our households? How does, having a newborn, we have a, 1-year-old at the time she's now 1.5, and trying to figure out how is that impacted? Having parents, friends, and it's been a lot of anxiety, you know, these last couple of months, trying to figure out those new norms and how we're going to get through it all. So it's definitely been, my scale definitely was hitting up there in the 9s or 10s a couple months ago. But it's definitely gotten a lot better. It's gotten better the last couple, the last month.
That's awesome.
So,
I think in talking with people, specifically high schoolers and middle schoolers, that's kind of a group I work with a lot. A big source of anxiety isn't necessarily all of the things that are happening, but the constant changes that are happening a lot. And so, it's a very interesting time we live in.
I mean, I couldn't even imagine being a senior in high school, trying to evaluate which college to go to, and not be able to go to the college and go see it. And if I did, no one's there. I mean, how do you understand what those campuses are, or where you're trying to choose where to go? And then the people that graduated recently and just the different things that they went through. I mean, the anxiety the families go through, families that want to travel to go see their kids.
From middle school going into high school, that's a big, starting that online and then shifting. So it's crazy. So thanks, Dad. Thanks for the encouragement. He said you will do great, and I appreciate that. I feel good. I feel good about it. There's Patrice, balancing things. BJ, anxious and controlling. I a little bit, especially as we engage with the yoke of Jesus. So just a little, if this might be your first time tuning in, and it's great to have you, but we have been talking about Jesus and his way of carrying the loads of life. And I've really liked that term, the loads of life, because we talk about anxiousness and anxiety, and there's such a spectrum on how people are affected by that. And I know the way I carry anxiousness is different than the way someone else experiences that. And so I've really liked the term loads of life, because no matter who you are, we all have loads in our life that we are carrying in some way. And so it's a very good way of, okay, what are my loads? What am I carrying? And so that's kind of what we've been talking about, different loads of life. And how does Jesus, he says, I'll read the theme verse, from Matthew 11. It says, "Come to me," Jesus says, "all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light." And we kind of unpacked the first week. So we're entering into our third week of the series. In the first week, we talked about Jesus has a yoke, or a way of carrying the loads of life. And, normally we have this yoke idea of like an oxen pulling a cart. And and so that's one way of carrying. But also there's a yoke in ancient times also might have been something that maybe like a backpack, or a way of carrying, your tools, or, you got to go do your job or do something like that. And they don't have cars, but so a yoke, and Jesus had a way, or the yoke of carrying the different loads. And so how do those things help us in our anxious world? And so that's kind of where we've been going. And this week we're talking about our default thinking is the title of the sermon, and it's been great. I've been really enjoying this series. So
it's been great. Listening when you're talking about the yoke and the different burdens. One of the things that kind of brings to my mind of that load that has come onto me a lot is my daughter being 1.5. One of the big challenges is she is such a sponge. Even I can say a word and she picks it up. She is just always learning and picking up new things. And so one of the things, before COVID, people are, you're taking your kids out, you're taking her to engage, you're taking her and, be with other kids, and they learn that way because they can see more than what's going on in your four walls. Well, now we don't really have that opportunity. It's a lot more difficult. And then if we do go out, it's a very protected bubble world, you know, in a sense. And so that's this load that I have felt a lot, is looking at, okay, where can I take my child out to play? You know, if we have friends and their kids, you know, are they, you know, someone that has been taken care of? And are they, you know, taking care of their kid? And is it a safe place, you know, to take her to a park or take her somewhere so that she can play? And so that's one of the things that has given me some, you know, I've prayed a lot on it, and talking to the Lord and talking, you know, back and forth, was putting trust in Him. And putting trust that I care so much about my daughter and her well-being, because it's such a ripple effect of, if she gets it, how's that going to affect others? Because, you know, if she gets sick, then possibly my wife and myself, and then who else we interact. I mean, grandparents, you know, our parents that are here that love to see our little daughter. And so if she is getting sick, it can affect a lot. And so I try to think God has a way, has a path, and putting trust into that. And so I think about it like the people I interact with, or if we bring into that safe zone, we ask the question, are they a Christian? Do they believe in God? But also, I have trust, they care just as much about their kids as I do about mine. And if knowing that, it relieves my anxiety. It's knowing that God is taking that in, and with the yoke, and helping me carry that, they are going to be just as much caring and watching over their children.
Yeah.
And so it helps with that.
Yeah. I love what, you know, just being able to, well, one, hear what you're saying about, because I don't have any kids. And so all these, you know, the different loads that we all have, and how God's helping you guys walk through this and figure out, and all these, and the ripple effect that you said is such a, because I think there's lots of individual things that are loads that we're carrying, but then also thinking about, okay, this one affects this one, and this one affects this one, and this one affects this one, and it's,
trying to figure out how all that, and then how it's going to impact other people, and then change just, you know, your complete way. And that's, you know, it's, if we don't take our child, you know, if we try to keep our child safe, which is then keep us safe, keep our parents safe, and keep our, you know, people around us, our, you know, our families and friends safe, then how much is she learning? You know, it's usually children at this time, they're, you know, out at parks eating dirt, you know, interacting with other kids, that snotty kids that are on the slides, and she's picking up germs and having, you know, viruses. And she's not getting a lot of that now. And it's because of those interactions. And so what is that going to do for her as she grows up?
Yeah.
And so it's definitely, I mean, you can see how much I'm talking about, how it burdens. It's an anxiety that I think about. I'm like, okay, what detriment or what change is happening to my child because of these decisions that are affected? But it just goes back, I pray. I know He is going to provide. And He has that, you know, that yoke that is going to relieve it. And so that's what, it's helped us a lot. It's really helped us in these last couple months to kind of relieve some of that anxiety. Because if not, it's hard.
Yeah. Well, and I think, one, it's just I think it's just good to acknowledge that, oh yeah, this is not an easy time. And decisions are hard, and the yokes and the loads that we're carrying are big, and everybody's got different ones. So there's this quote that I'm going to find on here. What does Jesus reveal about His way of carrying the loads of life that help us thrive in an anxious world? And I think that what you've said about praying and trusting, and then realizing that we were talking earlier about how I kind of vision the loads of life and all these plates in the room. And it just feels like that, you know, if you've ever seen spinning plates, you know, the acrobats that spin plates, and I'm imagining in my head, because that's the way my mind works. It might not make sense to anybody else, but like a basketball court of all these spinning plates, and I've got to run around and spin them all so they don't crash. And that's sort of what it feels like sometimes. And So I think that this Sunday's message was really appropriate for what we're talking about here. So would it be all right if I read?
Yes, please do.
The verses from.
Yeah, I like.
Says, therefore I tell you, this is Jesus talking. I think this is Matthew 6. Therefore I tell you, do not worry about your life, or what you will eat or drink, or about your body, or what you will wear. Is not life more than food, and the body more than clothes? Look at the birds of the air. They do not sow or reap or store away in barns, and yet your heavenly Father feeds them. Are you not much more valuable than they? Can any one of you, by worrying, add a single hour to your life? That's just a quote to stop on. All right. And why do you worry about clothes? See how the flowers of the field grow. They do not labor or spin. Yet I tell you that not even Solomon in all his splendor was dressed like one of these. If that is how God clothes the grass of the field, which is here today and tomorrow is thrown into the fire, will he not much more clothe you, you of little faith? So do not worry, saying, what shall we eat? What shall we drink? What shall we wear? For the pagans run after all these things, and your heavenly Father knows that you need them. But seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be given to you as well. Therefore, do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. Each day has enough trouble of its own.
How true is that?
Yeah, right? So, first of all, to just think about, okay, we do have a God in heaven that cares about us a lot, and he's going to take care of us.
Yeah.
And one of the things that Delton said in the message that really stuck with me was, he said, worrying is like trying to take care of tomorrow's problems with today's resources. And then he kind of had this analogy of, imagine trying to pay February's house payment on October's paycheck. Because I can't. No, I could not try that. But and so thinking about, okay, there are, back to the whole plates analogy. There are so many plates that I could be worrying about. And there are plates that are going to come up tomorrow, and there's going to be plates that come up the next time and the next week, and the what ifs, and what if this happens, and what if that happens, and what if I don't read the right book, for the sermon, and I don't get that perfect thing, or what if I, what if, and thinking, okay, God, Jesus, you've given me resources for today. You've given me enough resources to get through today. Tomorrow's got enough worries of its own. What can I do today? What's the next? And so the next quote is that I think really stuck with me from what Delton said was, what's the next right thing? What's the next thing in God's kingdom that will help me? What's he set in front of me? So that's kind of what stuff I'm thinking of. Any reactions to that or thoughts? Or
Oh, yeah. It's, this time in my life, there's a lot of new things going on. Looking for a job. And, one of the things, it reminded me, my dad told me a long time ago when I was worrying about all kinds of different things in life. He's just like, what is your job right now? This was in high school. He's like, what is your job? Your job is to get good grades. Focus on school. You don't need to be getting a job. You don't need to be doing all these other things. You don't need to worry about starting a family. Just because you're getting into that, you don't need to be worrying about that. What you need to worry about is your school. And then from there, it was like, okay, in college, what's my focus? Well, if I'm going in freshman, sophomore, I need to focus on school. Because if I keep focusing on that job or something further down the line, I lose focus at where I'm at now. Kind of like what God is telling us, that we just need to focus on, the now. And what's come recently is, a couple months ago when my position was eliminated, it was just like, oh my gosh, how am I going to provide for my family? How has my life changed? And thinking about, wow, what do I do? And it was worrying about tomorrow. How am I going to provide for, how am I going to do this? And thinking back, he had a reason. And, it's one of those things you don't see until sometimes that hindsight, looking back. And during, leading up through, COVID started, I was preparing my organization to get to be successful through it, got all of the plans in place. At the time, I was losing focus on family, on pulling away to get that successful. My health was not there. And all of a sudden, he said, all right, I have a new path for you. And that path is my daughter that is 1 year old that is needing that enrichment. And so what do I do all day? I get to spend time with her.
Yeah.
I get to take her to parks. I get to take her to new adventures, go see trains, have her excite and see what God's beauty is. I still spend a couple hours every day looking for jobs because that's still preparing for that future. But knowing that I don't need to worry about that because I trust in him. I know he has something for me. And my health hasn't been better.
Yeah.
Things are falling into place. And it was because of his plan. And it's sometimes hard to see that.
Yeah.
Going through losing, your job, going through big changes like that in life and not being angry, not trying to figure out why.
Yeah.
But trying to worry about and have anxiety without just putting trust in him.
Yeah.
And
Well, I love I'm going to try to, you said so many awesome things. I'm going to try to remember them. But, about first, how God's provision at the time, sometimes we don't see, the resources God gives us sometimes don't look like resources.
Right.
Until afterwards. And then we're like,
yeah.
And I remember, what you said reminded me of when me and Rachel were dating and, okay, what are we going to do and how are we going to get engaged? We want to get married. How do we do that? What does that look like?
Yeah.
And I remember, we weren't even engaged yet, and I was interviewing to move to Texas, and it's like, what's that going to look like?
It's not just like an hour away.
Right. No, it's not necessarily an hour away.
No.
And what is she, and all these plans, and what if, and now that we've been through it all, and all the changes, and the moving, and getting married, and what's that going to be like? Oh, God did have a plan, because if it took any less time, if we got married quicker, that would have led to things that, that wouldn't have been right. And if it took any longer, that would have been, and it's like, okay, God had this perfect plan that was not what I wanted.
Right.
I had other plans of when I wanted things to happen and my own ordering, and it's like, okay. So that was a provision. So that was, there's another thing that you said that stuck out to me about how you have this awesome opportunity to spend time with your daughter and go see the trains and God's beauty, and also, spending a couple hours and looking and applying and all that stuff. And I love how that just perfectly illustrates this weird balance that we live of not worrying but planning.
Right.
And being able to walk in that the tension of those things, because sometimes planning and worrying can be blurred a little bit,
Oh yeah. Oh, it's definitely. I mean, I can tell you, Monday mornings are usually my harder mornings because that's usually by the time HR usually gets back to any of my applications. And so Monday mornings when I pull up, I see, you overqualified, not qualified. I get those emails. And so having that anxiety but like you said, it's that balance. It's knowing, okay, he's going to provide, because as soon as that happens, 4 other jobs pop up. Something pops up that I can, go look at. But then I flip it around. I do that for, a couple hours, and then I see, a little knocking at the door. Right there, there's a little glass door at my office, and I look up, my little daughter, and she's like, "Hi." I'm like, "All right, come on in. Let's go play. Let's go see what the world has to offer." We're always finding new things, and it's such a blessing just to kind of see her grow in that relationship. So he has provided in so many ways.
That's so cool. I mean, and just for me, hearing your story and then hearing just the way that I'm so lucky that Delton's our pastor, because
yes.
And he's on vacation, so that's great. He's gives a couple weeks to recharge, and but the way he puts things and the way I was able to be behind the scenes and and preparing a lot of the series and planning a lot of different sermon stuff. And so hearing the way that he said, just focusing on the next right thing. Yeah. What's the next thing that God's put in front of me to do? And there's lots of plates in my life that are spinning and that could topple. And I remember, I was thinking about, sometimes I feel like I'm running around that room and spinning the plates and looking at God and being like, don't you care about all these plates? These plates are spinning and I have to go. Yeah. And it's like, oh, wait, he's a Father in heaven, loves me very much. That's what it says, Yeah. Where does it say? For the pagans run after all these things, and your heavenly Father knows that you need them. Yeah. And he's like, yeah, I know. There are lots of plates, and I've given you like these 4 plates right here. Yeah. So.
And he's over there, when you're not, kind of helping them go along, giving them a little bit of that extra push. Yeah. To help you keep those, those plates up. It's his love that is helping. To go through it all. Yeah.
Yeah, it's great.
We got some more good comments?
Yeah, I think Patrice commented, seeing God's blessing in our present situations. I think the ability to see the blessings now, that's like one of those gifts that just comes after years of, because I know for me, there are times where I'm like, okay, this is a blessing from God. He's providing for me right now. But a lot of times I don't see it until afterwards.
After.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting you say that. It's we were talking a little bit before, and some of the people that they're online, probably know. Back in January, I fell ill, and had tons of doctors trying to figure out infectious disease, cardiology, oncology, a lot, trying to figure out, okay, what was wrong. It was a month-long ordeal, and it was put together as they said it was a virus. And fast forward a couple months, COVID comes along. I went and got the antibody test. I had the antibodies. So it comes out that, I probably had COVID at that time, but that provision or those things that we learn, blessings that we could have is, I started donating the plasma. I've seen how it's been helping, and come to find out, I've been able to donate twice and have 3 units each time, and each unit goes to one person. So because of what I went through in that illness and that miserable time, now I'm on the other side, and I've helped 6 people come out and help them through this, that sickness. I was like, how neat is that?
That's cool, yeah.
It's, like you guys are saying, it's trying to understand that blessing of what is, seeing it now versus what was happening back then, of how miserable going through that. Wow.
Yeah, no, I think it's so, God has these great ways of working that's like, it's just, so, thanks for sharing that. It's so fun. That's what I love about, I kind of feel a little bit, I was joking earlier, I feel like Jimmy Fallon, bringing different guests on and being able to have these conversations. But like just being able to talk and hear how God's working in your life is like, oh man, that's really cool, and it gets me thinking. So, Joy says, what a blessing. Joy says, what a blessing, Richard.
Joy is a blessing.
So this is a couple more thoughts.
Yeah.
I was thinking about, it's hard to trust Jesus with his way of carrying the loads of life.
Yeah.
If this line, and your heavenly Father knows that you need them, and knowing that we have a heavenly Father that loves us very much, it's really hard for me to trust him if that's not who he is. I don't know if that makes any sense. I'm probably saying that in a bad way, but knowing that he does love me, that he is a good father, that he's going to take care of me. I mean, and what he says about the grass of the fields and the sparrows and the flowers, and how he takes care of those. How much more is he going to take care of you?
Yeah.
That idea allows so much more freedom in the way that I walk day to day.
Well, it's your relationship with him, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's, I think sometimes, I see, the challenge, because he's asking with that, verse of wanting us to build that relationship. And how do you build that relationship? And it's interesting, you mentioned joy before, and I think you think of different people, and this is maybe me just kind of more personal of my thoughts of, you see different people and you see like Joy, everyone knows her, she goes to church, and it's like, okay, how do I, fit into that? How can I be like that? And you see all these different people in their lives of, they have this relationship, and how much more can I have, to try to be closer. And so I look at it as, we have so much going on in our lives. We have, you talk about work, you talk about family, you have this stuff, COVID that's going on. And it's like, how can you have all of this, but then it's like, okay, how can I be closer to him? How can I build that relationship? Yeah. And is that relationship, being like John Hunt and reading my Bible every day? Is it, having, leader of grow groups? Is it, what is that? And so I know sometimes for me, it's this huge obstacle. It's like, okay, how can I have that close relationship? What do I need to do? But all he says really is just believe in me and take those steps. And so I know in my life, when I have trying to juggle all of those plates in life, if I say, you know what, God, I put trust in you. And I go to him, I read the Bible, I pray in every night. I put trust that he is going to help me with those things.
Yeah.
They fall into place. It's been it's just magical to kind of watch it happen.
Yeah.
Instead of me sitting here trying to force and try to do all of this, it's like, you know what? I'm going to put the faith in him, and it builds that relationship. And I know I don't have to be this, this Delton or this Mark or this someone that is so close. I need to build, because my relationship is my path. I'm at a different place than where they're at. And I start getting closer and closer. And as I do that, because as he says, as you don't worry about these things and you focus on what you have and focus on me, pour it into me, this will be taken care of.
Yeah.
And it's such a blessing. It's such a relief,
right?
To know that. And sometimes it's hard. You get lost in that field of, oh my gosh, I need to do this. I got to take care of this guy to make sure my daughter is being enriched, that she's not just sitting at home all the time, that I'm getting her out and trying to do all these different things instead of saying, okay, I can get to it.
Yeah.
He's going to help me, but not say, I'm not going to pray tonight, that I'm not going to read my Bible, I'm not going to build my relationship, because once I start moving away from that, other things just start falling apart. Those plates start falling.
Yeah, I remember. Well, in I think it was this week's sermon, Delton has this story of like, he can't find a shirt. He can't find his shirt, and he's gonna come record this, and he's running around, can't finding it, and he's like, wait, I need to pray about this, and he like turned around, and it's like right there, you know. So it's just it's like, just okay, God, thank you for taking care of me. And then also just what you said about this relationship that we have. And I know for me, a big shift happened in my own thinking and my own way of, in my own faith and my own walk, I guess, when it shifted from how can I maybe impress God to how can I just this relationship. I mean, this guy loves me. This God loves me a lot, and he's a pretty great guy, and pretty awesome guy. And it's how can I just get to know him and engage with him? So and I love, we're all on different journeys, and something that stuck with me. This is just from afterthoughts a while ago, but in the Psalms we read like verse 1 and verse 2, and then he changes from being sad, and then he gets happy in the Psalms, you know. And it's like, we don't know how many years it took him to be able to write this psalm and to go through all those things, and then also for him to have, how many years it took him to grow that relationship and grow that trust.
Yeah.
And so just allowing God to lead us on this journey of faith and where we're going, and it's pretty cool.
It is. It is an amazing journey.
Yeah. Very freeing. That's a good word.
It is.
Freeing.
It is, oh my gosh. Be able to try to carry that load and be able to just set it down.
Yeah.
And be able to enjoy life it's such a freeing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm just looking through this.
Oh.
Make sure that there's...
Because, you know, Delta's going to come back and be watching saying,
oh, yeah.
Do you hit these points? Do you hit this? And, yeah.
Nah, I think it'll be okay.
Nah.
Yeah. Well, it's been a joy having you on.
It's been great to be here.
Yes.
Wow.
It's been a great conversation online. I see lots of people talking, and it's so fun to see how God works through these conversations.
Yeah.
It's fun to see where they go in the moment. I just also, while everybody's on, I want to give just a quick reminder. Please, if you plan on coming to service this Sunday, to sign up online, save a seat. Go to POG.church, and there will be a button there for you to save a seat. It is a really helpful tool for us to be able to make sure that we have the resources we need to distance and keep as many people safe as possible. So if you could go to POG.church if you plan on coming and saving a seat. And I think I'm trying to remember of any other announcements.
I don't think there was.
Yeah, I don't think so.
No.
Children. I know we were looking. Children's
Culture.
Ministry is always in need of some people to be a part of that. So if you're looking, if that's something that might be of interest to you, email Michelle at POG.church. And if you are interested in helping in any way with the media production team, lots of different ways to serve there. Email POG at POG.church. That would be the best place to go for that. And any questions at any time, you can email POG at POG.church, and we will get back to you. So,
Any other comments in there that are questions?
I think we're good. Yeah, it's been a great night tonight.
Wonderful.
It's been so much fun.
I've enjoyed it. This has been a lot of fun.
Thanks for being here. Thanks for
Thank
being
you.
my partner tonight and discussing God's Word. So
It's been a blessing.
awesome.
Thank
All right.
you.
Thanks, guys. Have a great week. See you Sunday.